Hey, pray for Beirut, Lebanon. What's up? It's a culture detective here investigating your favorite albums. And today I am once again super duper bored, just like for the past 20 days. I have nothing to do. And today I'm going to do another album review, and I'll be reviewing Fontaines DC A Hero's Death. So, Fontaines DC is a very new post punk band from Ireland, and last year, 2019, they dropped the album Doggerel, which I thought was really overhyped. I thought it was really generic, kind of basic. I mean, I love post punk, I'm a sucker for post punk. Albums like uh, bands like Proto Martyr, Idols, Parquet Courts, Algiers. I love all of those bands. But just something about Fontaines DC just doesn't quite hit the mark for me. Maybe it's because of the very basic production. Maybe it's because of the bland vocals. Maybe it's because of the very repetitive and redundant guitar chords. But actually, it's all of the above. So, there are like four songs off of Doggerel that I actually enjoyed quite a bit, and the one that I enjoy the most is, of course, the album opening Big, which ended up being one of my honorable mentions in my favorite songs of 2019, but only in the honorable mentions, not good enough to be in the top 50. And then, not even a year had passed, they had dropped A Hero's Death, and yeah, it's still pretty underwhelming. I actually prefer A Hero's Death a little bit more than Doggerel in that the instrumentals are actually more versatile. The guitar chords, some of them are sweeter, some of them are more energetic, some of them are cooler, icier, so there is more versatility. But once again, the vocals are very flat as a cutting board, and the production is just very basic. Okay, so let's talk about the tracks that I love first. Once again, I love four songs on this album. Four to be exact. The first one being the album opener, I Don't Belong. And yeah, even though I won't say it's a very great song, I think it's a pretty good album opening. It's very sad. It's a sad album opening. Unlike Big, which is more energetic and exciting, this one is more sad and dejected. The guitars, they are colder and sort of more depressing. And this is also one of the tracks on the album where the frontman actually sings instead of randomly, aimlessly shouting. So obviously, this would become one of my favorite tracks here. And then we have the track You Said, which is one of the slower songs on the album, but I love the dreamy, nostalgic guitar chords on the track. Actually, it kind of reminds me of Coldplay back in the Rush of Blood to the Head era. It just has that nostalgic, dreamy quality without it being all that grand or epic or prog rock-ish. And also, the vocalist of the band actually sings on this track, which is really, really nice. I mean, he doesn't have a great voice or anything, but at least he sings, you know? So there's melody. And the title track of this album, A Hero's Death, is easily my favorite track on the entire album. It is easily the most eventful track, the most energetic track, the most exciting track. We have refrains, life ain't always empty, life ain't always empty, and it's just constantly repeated over and over again. And while, yes, it can sound kind of repetitive and redundant, it didn't make up for the entire track. That's only the beginning of the track and a few other parts, and it's pretty nice. Also, I love the guitars on this track. They're heavy, they're distorted, yet they're icy and chill and uncertain. The skippy drums is very compelling, and I also really love the vocal harmonies in the back, just very mysteriously hanging in the back, which I really like. And then afterwards we have the track Living in America. The vocals on this track reminds me a lot of something that Pink Floyd would come out with in the 60s. Like, for some reason, his vocals remind me a lot of Syd Barrett, especially in the chorus. Living in America. It's just there's that freaky quality to it, yet it's very serious at the same time. Also, the guitars, they're bold, they're reverby, and there is an uncertain, ambiguous tone to the guitars, which I really love. But aside from that, the rest of the album is just very basic in my opinion. The tracks, Love is the Main Thing and Lucid Dream, are two of the worst tracks on the album because they're just so repetitive and so bland, especially for the track Lucid Dream, which I thought there really isn't anything to talk about on this track. The guitar chords, they're not really all that special. They're kind of generic and they just repeated and looped over and over and over again. And the vocals, they're aimless, they're directionless. It's just kind of boring. And then we have tracks that have good instrumentals, but the vocals are just very bland, and once again, it's very repetitive. Tracks like Televised Mine and also I Was Not Born. The latter of the two has these constantly banging drums, which are very hyped, very fiery, except the vocals are very random, very aimless, and it's not like the vocals are that wild or nasty or anything. They still sound very flat and monotone. And then we have tracks that are basically bland, boring, mundane ballads like Oh Such a Spring and the album ending No, which is a very, very underwhelming album ending in my opinion because a good chunk of the song is just so spacey and nothing ever happens. And then we have the track Sunny, and I guess I kind of appreciate the effort in that they're trying to come up with a song that's very dreamy. It's like we're on a beach in a sunset and we're enjoying life and everything's beautiful and mellow, except the song kind of failed to translate that feeling. Instead, it just becomes something kind of insipid, may I say, because I feel like I've heard something like that for a million times already. So yeah, I just don't really see anything all that spectacular about this album. Again, there are a couple tracks on this record that actually stand out to me and are enjoyable. I would go back to these songs maybe once in a year, but I guess yeah, just not a very memorable album at all. Fontaines DC has yet to find their own style, find their own sound, and sort of own their own sound, you know, Hone. So yeah, my favorite track here is the title track, A Hero's Death, and my least favorite track is Lucid Dream. I am giving Fontaines DC, A Hero's Death, a strong 5 to a light 6 out of 10. So, have you listened to the latest Fontaines DC album? From Window to Number, just read it, like it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. I will be reviewing Imperial Triumphant's Alphaville up next, as well as every single Radiohead album. Yes! Also, I'm playing flute again. I suck.